guys, I can't believe I'm having to have this conversation. I can't, due to the way YouTube works and algorithms and monetization, all the rest of it, cannot use the word of the virus that I'm going to be referring to today. So, taking inspiration, as it were, from a YouTuber I watch called Will N.E., I'm going to call it something different. You may hear me refer to it as the lager lurgy or the beer virus. Those are just two that I can think of that he used and I liked, because I can't open the video and look back without getting copyright claimed again, and that'd do my head in, because I don't know how to fix that. I did actually in my previous video where I got copyright claimed, I put who I was listening to and who I was listening to during and just before the video in the comments below. So I felt as though that was enough to be crediting them. Obviously it probably wasn't. I do need to learn a bit more about YouTube and all the rest of it. But onto the topic of today. Yes, this might turn into a bit of a rant, but this has been driving me insane. As people who watch me and watch my YouTube channel and know me in real life know, I have several conditions. I actually have quite a lot. I've never taken the time to count them up because I know that I couldn't do it in just my fingers. I would need probably 4 hands to count up the amount of conditions I've got. A lot of them are invisible. A lot of them are disabilities or limitations that you can't actually see when you look at me. And a lot of them do sort of interlink with each other. Now that isn't my fault. That's just part of who I am. However, with this virus lurgy going round, I'm rather angry about the way other people are viewing those with disabilities or are treating those with disabilities or those who are vulnerable. And then I'm also angry at those who spend their time saying, oh, I've got a disability, or I've got his disability, I can't wear a mask. And it's driving me insane. It is doing my head in. And I'm allowed to be annoyed with it because I've had friends who have said they have a disability when I know they don't to get out of wearing a mask. And I'm allowed to be angry about that, because if a cancer patient or a person with a disability or a person who is vulnerable, who struggles daily with a condition that they have no control over, can wear a mask for 10 minutes on a bus or 20 minutes in a store, you can make one, you can wear one for however long it takes your journey. I don't care. I stopped caring. And at the moment it's just more frustrating because people have realised that buses, taxis, public transport aren't asking for proof. Now, I understand that some people may actually really have the conditions they're saying they have in order to not wear a face mask. But at the same time, or a face covering, but at the same time, they're mandatory. And I feel as though you should have to prove it if you can't wear a face mask. This is just my feelings, this is just my opinions. Please do not get angry at anyone else, because this is just my opinions. But I feel as though if you cannot prove it with a GP or specialist letter that you are not allowed to wear a face mask or a face covering due to your condition, then you should have to wear one. Now, I have family, my parents, both of which are classed as vulnerable. And myself, I am classed as clinically vulnerable. I also have learning disabilities, I also have physical disabilities, and I also have other conditions that aren't necessarily linked or necessarily put into those categories. However, I have got a letter from a specialist saying that I cannot wear a face mask because of one of the conditions I have. Well, actually, it's more than one, but he only listed one. However, I also because I want to be a good human, a kind human, an understanding human, a patient human, a compassionate human, wear a damn face mask, because you don't know what is happening. This logology could be anywhere, and I don't particularly. You can be non-symptomatic. You can not have any of the symptoms and still have it. I would much prefer, not just for my own sanity, but for my family's peace, for my family's love, for my family's safety. This includes everyone in my family. I would much prefer to wear a face mask for 10 minutes on a bus journey or 20 minutes in the store and know that I am keeping myself as protected as possible, and know that when I go and visit my family, as long as my face mask is washed and we are outside and 2 meters apart, I am doing what I can to keep them safe as well. Now, I understand that in England, because I use it myself, there is a scheme that is about like making hidden disabilities very much more visible, especially at the moment. And it's called the Hidden Disabilities Scheme. And I've actually got mine here. They use a lanyard that looks like this. It is beautiful. It's green and it's got sunflowers on it for those who can't tell. And then you also get you can get other products as well on their site. Excuse me, I'm just fixing this. I will link it below for anyone who's interested. But I have this as well. This is technically an Oyster card holder. However, I use it to hold my bus pass. And please ignore the fact that I look dead in that picture. It is not my fault. They don't allow smiling pictures. Along with like a few other cards, including the card I have for my Jakey about him being an assistance dog. Otherwise you get a whole heap of people whinging about him not being allowed in public places when he's a working dog. But this sunflower itself is designed to make people with hidden disabilities like autism, like NVLD, which is something I've got, or asthma. Well, actually, it's more learning disabilities. It's hidden disabilities. Asthma isn't really a disability, but autism, NLD, ADHD, sensory processing disorder. It's designed to make them more visible. People who wear these, in general, are supposed to have disabilities that are non-visible. However, I feel rather cross that some people are using, oh, I've got a hidden disability, and then putting a card on it, on the lanyard of it, that says face mask exempt. That makes me angry for two reasons. One, you don't know if someone's telling the truth or not. They could have just found the hidden disabilities site and realised they could get something that makes them look like they're disabled and face masks exempt. Okay, maybe it's 3 reasons. 2, not all disabilities mean you don't wear a face mask. I'm sorry, but it shouldn't matter if you've got a learning disability. Yes, you might have difficulty understanding why you have to wear one, but you can't get away with not wearing one just because you're learning disabled. I have a friend and a brother who are classed as learning disabled. They wear masks, no issue. I am learning disabled. Yes, it took me a while and several conversations to understand why I needed to wear one. I wear one. So I'm sorry, if you're going to use that sunflower lanyard to explain why you're not wearing a mask, you need to check yourself out a little bit and realise that you're probably not using your head correctly or using that correctly, because it isn't fair on those like myself who have the proof that they can't wear one, who then also use the hidden disabilities lanyard. And that's the third thing. I feel as though if you're going to wear this and you're going to have a card in it, or it is literally a card, it's literally just a plastic card that says face mask exempt, you should have to have proof. You should have to have a letter, or you should have to have a signed document from your doctor or specialist that says you cannot wear a mask. Because I don't feel it's right for people who don't have a disability or do have a disability to not wear a mask, because unless they've got proof that they can't wear one, because you have no idea what you are doing to others around you. The lager lurgy is transmitted through a variety of ways, mainly, I think, by droplets. Now, if there is two of you not wearing a mask because you say you're learning disabled, mask exempt, then you sit in between two other people and talk across them, which is what happened to me this afternoon on a bus. I was really annoyed. It really upset me because I had a major panic attack because I didn't know how to deal with it. I wasn't on my own, it's fine. I was with a support worker and Jake. But they were sat opposite ends of each other. One side of me, one side of my support worker, talking across us. We were wearing masks. But at the same time, those masks do not protect 100%. You have no idea what those people have been doing, what they have, what they don't have, whether they're symptomatic or not, or let alone whether they know whether they're safe or not. Like, I'm sorry. If you want to talk to someone and you do not have a face mask on or face covering on and they don't either, sit next to each other so you're not at risk of putting other people at risk. Like, because you never know. They could be going to their family or to their friends or out to a restaurant or out to a shop or supermarket and not wearing a mask there either, putting more people at risk. And it just drives me nuts because it's a case of, I do feel very strongly about it because, yes, you can't see hidden disabilities, but at the same time, most people with hidden disabilities have proof that they have a hidden disability to some extent. Believe me, I have letters. I obviously have Jakey because I can't leave the house alone. Some of them have support workers with them who probably won't make it obvious they're support workers, but it will be eventually obvious to some extent. And some people with learning disabilities may also have another disability on top of that. But it shouldn't exempt you from wearing a face mask or a face covering without proof. I understand that people, like bus drivers, etc., probably don't want to ask for that proof, but they should be given the right to ask for it. Because, I mean, if you're going to sit on their bus while they're driving with at least 30 other people and not follow the rules set by the government or the guidance by not wearing a face covering, then you should be entitled to be challenged and be asked. And if you're not willing to give the proof, then you should put on a face mask or a face covering. Or if you are that much disabled that you believe you are entitled to not wear a face mask or a face covering, or that you cannot wear a face covering or a face mask for whatever reason, maybe you shouldn't be going out at all. Or at least not out to the point where you have to get on public transport. By all means, go for walks. By all means, go to public outdoor settings where you don't need to wear a mask. But do not be putting other people in danger because you feel entitled because you have a learning disability and that means that you can't wear a mask. That is not what that lanyard is designed for. It's not what that lanyard is designed for whatsoever. And if you really can't wear a mask or a face covering, you should be willing to show proof. I know that most people's opinions on this differ. I'm fully aware that my opinions might upset some people in the disabled community. I'm okay with that. If I get my point across and people understand why I'm annoyed and people understand why I find it so difficult to believe that people who are now using this lanyard as an excuse not to wear a face mask or a face covering, I'm okay with that. Because in all realities, if people are wearing this lanyard who do not have a learning disability or a hidden disability, as it says there, then they should have it taken off them. Or if they're wearing it, even though they don't have one at all, like they can't prove it or they don't have one whatsoever and they're just wearing it because they figured out it'll get you out of wearing a face covering or a face mask, then you shouldn't be leaving the fucking house, because that's just selfish. That is selfish. You are taking away from people who actually need the support, who actually need to be able to not wear face mask and face covering, because you want to be selfish, because you want to sit on a bus without having to wear one, because you want to go into a store without having to wear one, because it makes you uncomfortable for a few minutes. What about those, like myself, like my family, like those other people who have chronic illnesses, who have cancer, who are going through chemo treatment, who have other conditions that make them clinically vulnerable, who need to go out, who need to have that time outside, who need the help that support workers give them? What about us? Because if you're going around not having any type of disability that's hidden and wearing a lanyard and saying I'm face mask exempt because of a disability or a learning disability or a hidden disability, then you are putting us in danger, because there's a potential that you could be non-symptomatic, or you could not have the Lager lurgy, and you could have it and not know, and you are then breathing on people, coughing on people, sneezing on people, dribbling, speaking, spitting on people who may well be vulnerable, who may well be chronically vulnerable, who may well not be able to wear a face mask or a face covering because of their disability, or who may just in general be going to care for a vulnerable person, even with a face mask on. You don't know what you're doing. You could be passing on the Lager lurgy to someone, and then in turn making that person sick, which in turn would mean that that person, even if they wear a face mask, would have to isolate for 2 weeks, would then have to call everyone they've been in contact those past couple of days or couple of weeks, however long it is, and tell them to isolate, which puts people at risk of not being cared for, which puts people at risk of not having jobs, puts people at risk of unemployment, puts people at risk of putting other people in danger, because they don't know if they've got symptoms until they've isolated for 2 weeks, which means then they have to do the job of having to go, sorry, the dog's shouting, and then go round and explain to people, oh look, I've been in contact with this person, please go get yourself tested, making more and more people anxious. If you can't get your head around that, and you're the one sitting there without a face mask on or a face covering on, because you said you had a hidden disability and you don't, then that, my friend, is on your conscience. I am not responsible for other people's feelings or other people's behaviours. However, I am responsible for mine. And I know that for myself, even though doctors and specialists have said I can't wear a mask, I'm still going to do it, because I rarely actually go out the house, and I'd rather wear a mask for the 10 minutes I'm on a bus or the 10 minutes I'm in a store than risk putting someone else at risk of the Lager lurgy. Now, I'm done ranting. If you get annoyed with my opinions, if you're angry with my opinions, if you don't like them, that is fine. But if you're going to comment, make it civil. And I think I'm done with ranting now. I've got my point across. I'm going to continue to do what feels right to me, which is wearing a mask. If you're not going to try, then please don't come near me. For anyone wondering, the dog was barking because he heard another dog. And said, Floofball is, where are you? Come here, come on. Oh, I'm sorry, Mummy's sorry, you're really hard because you're really heavy. Is here. He was literally sat right behind me. I didn't mean to pick him up the way I did, but he's okay. He's not hurt. It wasn't very far, it was literally this much gap between us. And because of the time, I am going to say goodbye, good night. I'm going to go and take my bath. Bye, guys.